Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Okay.
He's going full, like, he's just using the words.
My parents listen to this show,
just
Tom.
usually
Just want to throw that
innuendos.
out there.
It made me Dune so hard.
There you go. Gave
and-
you a raging nerd out. Remember when we used to say that? Remember that was our
tried to make the show PG-13.
that was our thing.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve. We're all levels of nerd. Shut up! Or welcome.
I don't know why I haven't learned yet that Tom's gonna
Explode.
at the beginning of every. It still gets me.
Everyone actually kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, Tom wanted to open this one. I'm like, oh, I'm glad. You know that I'm excited about it. When I don't explode, that I just did it because of the rotation. Well, in 19
Don't read into that.
In 1965, Frank Herbert wrote the science fiction story that would span over the course of 5,000 years after meditating on charismatic leaders, Arabic culture, and the real-life story of man versus nature in the dunes of Oregon coast. Today's episode, we are going to discuss the latest adaptation of arguably the most borrowed story in science fiction history with Dune.
I thought we were doing the
Pink
1984
pajamas,
version.
penguins in the back.
Nope.
Oh. Sorry.
Before we get too far into it, let's introduce the host. My name is Tom.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Josh. And this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon.
You know what it was? It's like there's usually one other name before mine sometimes. I need more coffee.
We are starting strong. Thanks for listening. Anyway, as a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks like you get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. If you want to hear this chaos, unbridled, unheld back,
Unchained,
unleashed,
Without ads.
check out the
Like
Nerd
this.
On Nation.
Yeah.
Yep. You also get early access to episodes like this.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You get ad-free episodes.
Yeah.
You get access to super secret channels on our super public Discord server that
Yeah.
are only for you.
it's like you unlocked your prescience with your spice.
Oh, and you. It's just for you.
Just this camera.
Oh, hey, and you.
You're making the editing harder for video.
I love you,
Or
Jim.
easier because it's literally like that camera.
Go. But check out the Nerd On Nation, nerdon.tv/Patreon, and check out that Discord. It's a fun community, growing all the time. Fun conversations, nerdon.tv/Discord.
Funversations.
Funversations. TM. And a huge shout out to Apogee, Odyssey, and
Embody
Embody
audio. Embody audio.
yeah.
I feel like we do have to say it afterwards just to
The
get the actual name.
Could you imagine trying to Google that?
Yeah.
Is
No.
it 4 Oddies?
I gotta give them a shout out. They stopped by my stream when I did a Diablo 13-hour stream and were very cool. Their programming, Josh, tell us about their program.
Their programming. No, I'm just kidding. They do what they call the program is called Immerse, and it is it's basically 7.1 for any headphone that you have,
Mhm.
and it's for PCs specifically, but it works with any type of headphone.
In-ear, over-ear.
Yeah, even your
back.
your Apple ear pods, they
Mhm.
were like, "Yep, works for that too." It's pretty dope. I would suggest checking it out. We did a stream with it a few months back with Resident Evil 8. Terrifying because when there's things behind you, they sound like they're behind you.
Yeah.
And it's intense.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Tom was blindfolded and could tell where enemies were to like a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
It's pretty great.
So check that out. There will probably be some more content coming soon with them. So
Yeah.
check it out. Embody Audio, Immerse.
It's pretty clean.
What about what
Speaking of clean,
Speaking of clean, sometimes you need to
welcome.
clean yourself of hair if you're going to the planet Arrakis.
That was the best transition ever.
And the scary thing about making this trek to Arrakis is that sometimes you have to put your hand in a box of pain and face the Gom Jabbar. But you know what? Shaving your balls with anything but Manscaped isn't scary. When it comes to below the waist grooming, there's no need to fear the many sandworms of Dune. Because Manscaped is here to upgrade your grooming experience. Guys, come on, go with this.
No, I was
I'm
like,
going with it. I'm here. I'm like
with
nodding.
it.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Go from ornithopter-sized planes to giant carrier vessels with your with your giant with the Manscaped.
Just read the promo,
Oh,
right?
Okay. I'm sorry. But yeah, join over 2 million men worldwide going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code NerdOn. I was trying to make it all thematic with Dune.
Yeah.
I think they'd appreciate it.
I get
I
it.
understood what you were
I
doing.
got what you were doing. I got what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, but I threw in a lot of fake words just like how Dune does because, sometimes you got to do that. And also, if you are planning to go watch this in theaters, then, the best way to make sure you're ready to go is to have your very own weed whacker.
Yeah.
Make sure,
Yeah, don't want those nose hairs.
You don't want to be in a suspenseful moment and everyone hear you nose whistling.
Yes, I will tell you right now, nose whistling is becoming a bigger peeve for me as I go on in life.
Oh.
I hear it and I'm like, oh my God, could you pick your nose for a second? Or get this wonderful weed whacker at manscaped.com with the code NerdOn to get 20%
Anytime
off.
I like will hear my own. If it happens, I'm like, got to deal with that.
I will
I
shove.
guess I'm mouth breathing for the next 2 hours.
I will shove my whole fist in my nose before
Yeah,
I
I'm just like-
want a nose whistle.
Got it.
But this weed whacker, I use this probably every other day just to trim it up, make sure it's all good.
Keep it clean.
Keep it clean. Make sure there's no bats in the cave for the spooky season.
So where can they go for a discount?
Manscaped.com with code NerdOn to get 20% off and plus worldwide shipping.
There we go.
There it is. I think that is all the house.
That is the housekeeping. Let us get on to this epic Dunic. There's nothing. It's Dune.
This earworm of an episode.
Yeah, there it is. This wormy episode.
Okay,
This spicy episode is the right one, by the way.
Spice melange.
The spice.
Let's get on to this spicy episode.
Well, now that's all over, we'll go on to our first two segments of these kind of episodes. And the first part deals with actually the end of the episode, where now we are going to
Guess that grump.
Yeah,
Guess that grump. Who's it gonna be on the dunes?
I went far away, Josh. I went really far
Come
away.
fly with me
I'm just thinking
through
of like
seas of spice and sand.
I'm just thinking of like new listeners. Like, what have I gotten myself into?
A needle.
You're
to
welcome.
My thin white neck and a box around my hand.
Yep, I like that. That's all right.
I made up they rhymed, which I'm really proud of.
I wrote the lyrics to this Dune song. There
I
is no
hope
Dune
you
song.
guys
There is now.
know. If you go back and listen, you'll hear it. It works.
So if you're brand spanking new to Nerd On and what these episodes are all about, we are going to go around the table and guess who's going to
Let
have
me take my notes.
the lowest score from 1 out of 5. No matter how high the number is, the lowest score from us at this rating will be the grump for the week. Since I always explain, I always pop your earbuds with that screaming. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say that the grump for this episode, that is going to have the lowest ranking out of all of us, is going to be Corey.
Okay. Joshua?
And then we all have written down our numbers
Yes.
somewhere in our phones or something like that. We can't change it. Yes. So, Josh.
Should we slam the table like
No,
Caitlin did?
absolutely not. I
No.
hate
That doesn't prove anything. Caitlin, we love you. That doesn't prove anything.
That just makes an audio aberration.
You could change it. We would never know.
Corey is my vote.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow, oh, wow.
Wow.
This is tough because I feel like there's things in this that either of you could have qualms with, but who does it make a bigger impact on is what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what I mean.
So I'm gonna say Tom is gonna be more forgiving.
Okay, so Josh.
Josh is my grump. I don't know, because Tom's also read the books. You know what I mean? So there's some baggage with that.
I went and saw the movie with Tom, so I heard and saw his reactions.
Oh, so.
Uh-oh.
So
he's using
I've
the
got
he's using the
insider
voice on
information.
you.
He's using the voice on me?
He's using the voice on you.
You have insider information.
I have. Oh no,
Okay.
insider trading.
So I'll vote for Tom.
Okay. So was it 2 votes on me?
No,
Oh.
it's 2 votes on me.
Okay, that's what's up.
Because you don't know if he was going. Oh.
However, are you sitting at home listening to this or watching this on the YouTubes and thinking to yourself, y'all, it's Josh.
Nice.
This isn't a Josh movie.
Yeah.
It's got no Spawn in it.
Yeah,
It's
it
got
doesn't
no
have Paddington.
Deku, no Paddington, no little
Fallout.
bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Why don't you vote for Josh? Well, guess what? You could speak with your vote by joining the Nerd On Nation. You could take part in a poll to guess that grump, and if you get it right, guess what? You're the Gatorade, grass-fed, gum jabber. Nope, I said jabber.
Committing.
Committing.
Gola.
Yeah, keep going.
Jesuit.
Benny Jesuit.
Yeah, Benny Jesuit.
Guesser Grumper, Gatorade Grumper. Ding.
God Emperor.
Meaning you'll get a shout out on the show if you get it right, if you guess right. And the Nerd On Nation has spoken loudly this time. A lot of votes going one way.
Oh.
It's me.
Yeah, it is.
So I have 3 votes.
5,000.
I have all the votes. I have all the votes I could get.
You have all the spice.
I'll put it that way. So Josh, you'll be first, followed by Tom, followed by Corey.
Okay.
That's how the Guess That Grump is going to go.
At the end of the episode.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So let's spoil that.
So now we'll go to the complete spoiler of it, and we're going to talk about our first impressions, our initial reactions of the film. I'll go last, and we'll hear Corey since he has all the votes.
You'll go. Oh, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will.
So
Mia.
I'm pretty stoked about this. I loved Blade Runner, and it gave me an entirely new appreciation for Denis Villeneuve. I kind of was talking to someone about this the other day, and I was like, I think he has, not only with original stories, but I really think he has a knack for adapting stories, but while still paying homage to where it came from, really making it his own. He's got a very distinct and very beautiful eye for cinematography. Something like we haven't seen since Lawrence of Arabia. Like that, those kind of sandscapes and horizons and just
Scale.
yeah, it's almost like he wanted to take that shot from Lawrence of Arabia and was like, make everything that shot. Every image you see on screen was masterfully crafted, and the most amount of detail and attention was given to create any given shot in this film. There wasn't a single shot I was like, that looks bad.
The way that I saw somebody describe it was, it's like Denis Villeneuve went, I want this shot to be the greatest shot.
Yeah, it's
For every
Jeremy
shot.
Johns. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly what it was. He made every shot the greatest shot in cinema history. I am not familiar with the Dune story whatsoever, except for the bits and pieces I had seen when I watched the original 1984 version, which, to be fair, I also haven't seen since I was like 12. So it's been a while that I've been removed from this world. There's this cast is
Stacked.
unbelievable. Later on, we're covering a topic called ensemble movies or us, and I can't believe this isn't going to be talked about on there because we're already doing an episode on it, because this would be top of the list. Everyone in this is a powerhouse. I have some pacing things I want to talk about later on, but that's really it.
Josh?
Holy shit. That was pretty much my first, like watching it the entire time. It was just like, if Tom noticed, I did not use the restroom while
I saw
was
that.
watching it.
So you
It
pissed
was-
your pants.
I just pissed right there in the AMC theater. It was in the back row, so,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
A little surprise.
that's why they're the
for
cheap
them.
seats.
It was amazing, and we got to see it in Dolby. It was an audio experience. It was a visual experience. The whole thing was just incredible. I watched it again on HBO Max, and it was still the same experience. It was incredible. I don't want to spoil anything. There's just so many things about this that I was like, wow. Denis, he's probably one of my favorite filmmakers in terms of what it looks like, watching what he does, and like, yeah, this movie pops.
Okay.
It's good.
Tom,
It's good.
So, as Corey mentioned, I have read the books. I am now currently on book 5 out of the 6 of the original publication. There are 2 more books that later his son, Frank Herbert's son, Brian Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson wrote that quote unquote finishes it, but it kind of derails a little bit. Anyways, so having that, it shit, baby. The book is hard to adapt. And so watching this movie, I'm like, oh, they're not going to do that. Oh, they're not going to do, oh, they're not, oh. So like the entire time I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And like, they don't do it. And there's a lot of moments in here I'm like, okay, this is, we know what this, book readers like, I know what this is. I know what part this is going to happen. How well they're going to do it. How they're going to
happen.
Well, no, how are they going to like show this or do that or explain this, or how are they going to interweave these certain things? And I think the utter task to adapt this book into a film is practically suicide, is like impossible. And that's why I'm so glad that this is part 1. And they say it right at the beginning, like Dune part 1. I'm like, oh, thank God. And the first book is actually separated into books. So you read Dune, it's like book 1, end. Book 2 starts. And I was like, oh, that's like, now I'm like, oh, that's kind of like the movie. Anyways, I absolutely loved my time watching this in theaters. I about came my pants like 3 or 4 times because of certain key things of like, oh, like when you do like there's already been an adaptation. So why does this film need to have another or this book need to have another adaptation when you can tell when you have the audience who is willing to pay money and go see it on the biggest screens possible, and see this epic story again that has been inspired so many things. Warhammer 40,000, Star Wars, Star Trek, everything has kind of taken from this. And we've had that same happening with Lord of the Rings, like Tolkien story is pretty much what all fantasy stories now have pretty much been like, this is
our setting.
This is the mother's milk. This is the Godfather of all. And Dune,
this is the Hobbit's milk.
Yeah. And and Dune was this. And so like seeing it now reach kind of the mainstream, there's a huge audience for Dune. And so it was a very nice moment that, I'm pretty new to the Dune universe, and I started reading it last year.
The Duneverse?
The Duneverse. And now like getting hyped for it and being like, oh, seeing it and then having people talk about it and have people experience it and the intricacies. It's a complicated story that spans for so long, and seeing just the breadth of it being like, oh, this is treated very, very well. And, all respect to Dave Lynch and the sci-fi series, but it's like, this is like, oh, this is given kind of the brevity, or not the brevity, the intensity and the gravity that it I think it deserves. So I really, really enjoyed this film.
Cool.
I will say I did have, it wasn't to be perfect though. So now that we're done with that, we'll go into our next 2 segments, which are going to be our brief synopsis and our production.
Mm-hmm.
And the brief synopsis will be given to you by
this guy. Paul Atreides, a brilliant and gifted young man born into a great destiny beyond his understanding, must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people. As malevolent forces explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resource in existence, only those who can conquer their own fear will survive.
Fear is the mind killer. And then our production given to you by
this guy. Distributed by Warner Brothers. Who's ever heard of them? The Conjuring universe, The Matrix, the Oceans series.
Those things.
Just those little ones. Directors, Denis Villeneuve. Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, Arrival. Producers, Denis Villeneuve. Dune, The Sisterhood. Mary Parent, Yumi and Dupree, which is, what a 180. Pacific Rim and Detective Pikachu. Cale Boiler. Excuse me, I don't have my glasses. I'm going to make this a little bigger. There's a lot here.
Yep.
Pacific Rim Uprising. I probably should have, like, before it was like, I'll do production. Probably should have been like, nah, that's a lot. Same kid is different, different as me and Noah. Tom, help me with this one.
Let me see.
Joe.
Let me see. Oh, Joe
Caracciolo?
Yeah, I was going to say Caracciolo.
Junior. Known for Logan. Swim fan. Oh, we need to cover that one too. Swim fan. And Radio Inside. Writers. Another help here.
John Spahets.
Spahets.
Yep.
Passengers. Prometheus. Doctor Strange. Denis Villeneuve. Incendies. I can read.
Yeah.
August 30. You know what, but Tom, why don't you go ahead? Because I'm just bumbling through this entire thing.
Who's written such things as August 32 on Earth, Polytechnique, and then Eric Roth, who's written such things as Forrest Gump, Munich, A Star Is Born. The cast, the stacked cast that Corey talked about. Timothy Chalamet, from Call Me By Your Name, Interstellar, and Little Women. Rebecca Ferguson, Can't Do No Wrong, from Dr. Sleep, The Greatest Showman, and Mission Impossible Fallout. Oscar Isaac from Ex Machina, The Force Awakens, Sucker Punch. Josh Brolin from such things as Deadpool 2, Avengers Infinity War, and The Goonies. We always have to remember he's a Goonie.
Yeah.
And
Never forget.
Stellan Skarsgård from Thor Dark World, Chernobyl, and Pirates of the Caribbean. Dave Bautista from Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Army of the Dead. Stephen McKinley Henderson from Fences, Lady Bird, and Lincoln. Zendaya from Spider-Man Far From Home, Euphoria, Malcolm and Marie. Chang Chen from Savages Forever Young, The Assassins. Sharon Duncan Brewster from Blooded, Snowflakes, Alien Containment. Charlotte Rampling from Spy Game, Babylon AD, and Melancholia. Jason Momoa from Aquaman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Sweet Girl. And Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men, Skyfall, and Beautiful. This has two. You want to do the rest?
I just want to give a shout out to Vicky Cristina Barcelona as well. For my friend Sierra, a shout out. She'll never see this episode, I don't think.
She will.
Release date. September 3rd, 2021 in Venice, October 21st, 2021 in the United States. Runtime is 156 minutes. Budget and gross is 165 million with a gross so far of 147.2 million. Rotten Tomatoes scores 83% critics with 316 reviews, 92% audience with over 1,000 ratings. I just can't read today. That's my issue.
I have the updated box office
Yes,
as
please.
of today, as of recording. It's $220.7 million. You know, also,
So it's doing all right.
yeah. You know what's interesting? I'm glad
Because
that
part 2 has not been announced yet, y'all.
well, at the time of this recording, the thing that I like that you mentioned at the beginning of this episode was about Lord of the Rings. And
My joke.
and I ended up doing a little bit of research on the budget because we did the episodes a while ago and all that stuff. But it was like each movie was about 94, 95, and $96 million per movie back in the day. But what does that look like inflation? It's $165 million.
Oh, it's the same as
So I'm like,
Dune?
it's about, then I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's just
Okay.
wild. It's just wild
All
to
right.
think like, you know, like, oh, they're made for less. It's like, oh, they're actually made for about the same amount now. But the $200 million movie is typically the standard that we see now for big tentpoles. So
Yeah.
seeing this not being that high is pretty wild. With that, we can go to our complete spoiler world
You
territory.
didn't do it.
Spoiler! Well, I did that earlier.
I'll do it for you.
And we'll do our favorite characters, our favorite parts. And
Favorite parts, favorite characters.
favorite parts, favorite characters, our qualms, and finally our rating.
Ratings.
And if we have some time, I'll share a little bit of like what they didn't do in the movie,
Yeah.
or what they did in the book, without being a spoiler.
Sure.
For the next movie. So who wants to go first? Favorite parts?
I mean, here's the thing. The game of chess that is happening through the first half of this film, just kind of on everyone's mind of, we know why we're going here. It's kind of a suicide mission, but we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to prove them wrong, was fascinating to me.
I guess I'm going to spoil it. That wasn't like a thing in the book.
Really?
Because they were like, oh, the fiefdom has been passed down to Atreides, and then Shaddam IV is like, oh, I fucking hate the Atreides. And then Baron's like, I fucking hate the Atreides. And then they're like, yeah, we're gonna do good. We're gonna
help everybody.
The Fremen are gonna like us. And it's gonna be good. It's all cool. And then like Duke is like, yeah, man, like I like these people. I like people. And then it's like you're living in there for a little bit, and you're like, yeah,
Everything's
things
going
can
all
go
right.
well.
And then
But then here they change it where it's like,
the Emperor purposefully.
well, I love that Gurney Halleck is like, you don't know what's happening to us.
Mhm.
Like that word of happening to us versus what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like this is a fate happening to you and it sucks versus like this is an opportunity to become as rich as the Harkonnen. So I really like that.
My favorite thing inside that too was the meeting between Oscar Isaac's character and Javier Bardem's character.
Oh, yeah.
That whole meeting was fascinating to me. You know, not just the exchanging of moisture, which was great, which was really well done. I think Jason Momoa really stood out in a lot of these scenes where he's kind of explaining the culture of the
Fremen.
Yeah, the Fremen. I was going to say the native people. They're the Fremen, and how he's kind of in love with it. But also in this moment, there's something kind of inside Paul, Timothy's character that allows him, something inside of him tells him to kind of speak up to this guy. And Bardem's character,
Stilgar.
responds to it well, which I thought was really cool. And, before he leaves saying, I recognize you. I just thought his introduction was fantastic. And I knew everything I needed to know about him as a character within those probably 20 seconds of a scene. But yeah, and it also gave a lot about the Duke, which I thought was Oscar Isaac did wonderfully, because he is this guy who, yes, there are protocols, but given that he knows he's going to a planet that he is foreign on, the little nods of like, telling people to stand down, or like, it's okay, like we're learning here.
Whatever I can give you, I will not ask for anything in return.
Yeah. And then being like, we will have to go in the desert. I'm going to be straight up with you, but know that like your homes are yours. We're not looking for that. Or even when she goes to like tighten his suit,
And everyone's
like ready to go. And he's like, guys, we need their help. Again, told you everything you needed to know about this character. Dana, unfortunately, she did call it. Dana and I both like, he's dead. He's so dead. He's a good dad. He's dead. he's a dead man. And it shines through though in all of his scenes where he rescues all the people off the ship, and like he's a good guy. He was there to truly do good.
In the book, that's a huge moment for Liet Kynes, because it's like, oh, the spice is the only thing that matters, and they're like, fuck the spice. It's like, we'll get the people. That's why he says,
human
damn the
life.
spice.
Yeah.
And it's a really big moment that everyone sees, like, oh, Leto Atreides is like the most honorable man.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
everyone
man,
loves him.
Denis Villeneuve is just fucking fantastic at scale.
Oh, dude, the just the part with Gurney and Paul, and then you see Shai Hulud.
Well, I'm
and
even
it's like,
thinking about
oh,
Blade Runner with the giant projection,
yeah.
right? The giant joy, and you see the tiny Ryan Gosling there, and you're just like, sometimes it's hard to convey how large things are on a screen. Not to cast shade, because I loved this moment, but it was hard to tell the scale of the battle in Endgame, like or in Ready Player One. It's hard to tell scale when you're putting so many things together at once. But using choice items such as a moment before this sandworm comes, you have Timothée Chalamet, Paul, against this large, the sand crawler kind of thing that collects the spice. So you get the scale of that. You're like, that's a huge machine. And then to have that thing become like pea-sized in the mouth of this worm, you're like, that's a huge monster.
And when it comes, the ground below you falls apart.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
and also shout out to him for using like, I almost think it's almost an homage to like Jaws and the creature features of the past, where we don't see it until
in the book,
an hour and a half in, hour 45 in, maybe even longer. 2 hours in, maybe we don't see the full worm until then.
There have been artist renderings that I think I like better than this version of the worm. But the cool thing, like the descriptor for the worm has been like, it's like looking into the mouth of hell.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
But
It's
yeah.
like seeing all those teeth.
But I just mean not showing it fully until that moment that it's in front of him. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Josh,
Yeah.
favorites?
One of my favorite scenes, just piggyback real quick on the saving the spice, the miners. That was a big one. So moving to another one, I have this strange fascination with the power of pain, and like an
animal.
how you can kind of not control, but like go past pain with your mind. And so that scene where she's like, put your right hand in,
What's in the
and
box?
he's going through so much pain, but he's having these visions and all that kind of
Do
stuff.
you remember the original one?
No.
What happens?
Really
you
long
see
time.
his hand
through
in the
his hand,
box, and it like peels away like it's on fire and stuff, and then he takes it out and it's fine.
Yeah, no. In the original, in the Alan Smithy 1984 one, you see a visualization of how he feels, but in this one, Denis Villeneuve went on to
The audio.
I think he went on to Vanity Fair and did a little video about like how like I really just wanted this mystery sci-fi thing, so you don't see kind of like this
Just the
magicalness
whirling,
of it.
like.
Well, yeah, and then like Timothée Chalamet like moves his hand just so slightly so you could tell something's happening. And then there's someone compiled a really cool shot of every single dirty focus that had over Gaius Helen Wahiam's shoulder of his face, and it's like the range of pain that he goes through. So it's like
yeah,
very good scene.
I that was a fascinating scene, just seeing it, and I thought, sorry, I don't really actually know how to say his name. Is it Timothy?
Oh yeah, it's Timothy.
Yeah,
I'm just
Timothy.
being an asshole.
Tom just
or
says Timothy.
Paul.
Or Paul. Well, no, I was gonna remark on the actor's performance. Like, just you can tell, like the thing about like good acting, it's like nobody sets out to feel those emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's like seeing his expression where he's going into like, what the hell is happening? And then all of a sudden, oh shit, this hurts. What the actual F?
I love
Yeah.
the slow climbing. He goes, he kind of like laughs to himself a little bit. He's like, oh, I feel something. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
You can call him what John Mulaney calls him, the boy.
The boy.
The boy.
The boy. But also because you mentioned it, the audio of this entire movie is incredible. Not just the soundtrack, but just the sound design and the mixing of it. Like one specific scene is the storm scene when they're in they're in that little spaceship.
the
And
ornithopter.
when you're going through the storm, you're surrounded like as in the theater. If you're in a 5.1 experience, you're in that thing. You're hearing things tink on the glass like all around you, and it was just like that's I've talked about it, or I will be talking about it in a future episode about 5.1 mixing and design and whatnot, and they used it. Like it was like, wow.
Yeah, Denis said like he's like one of the major aspects of this film was knowing that I wanted to make a love letter to the theater going experience.
Yeah,
and
and
you definitely feel that.
And it's like the subwoofer like felt it, like, and it's the same experience at home. Like with my system, I felt like my house was shaking. There is some subwoofer action. It was just, I mean, it was a fun experience.
I will say, just going on some audio cues, the way that they portrayed the voice made me come so hard.
Okay.
He's going full, like he's just using the words.
My
Usually
parents
just,
listen to this show.
just
Tom.
usually
Just want to throw that
innuendos,
out there.
It made me Dune so hard.
There you go. Gave
and-
you a raging nerd out. Remember when we used to say that? Remember that was our
tried to make the show PG-13?
that was our thing. It gave me a raging nerd on, and now Tom's over here being like, I camed.
I about cummed. And then also the sound of Baron Harkonnen's suspenders, and they like crackle open, like.
But
I was like, oh.
But real quick with the voice, like what I thought was so interesting about it was it's like it's pitched, it's delayed, like they speak, but it's also slightly.
There's a little whisper
off.
before.
No,
Yeah,
it's delayed.
there's
It's delayed.
stacking.
Yeah.
There's it sounds like there's multiple voices.
There's multiple
stacked,
voices.
and it's slightly delayed, and like there's this chessboard happening with. It was good.
I thought
It was good.
when Gaius Helen Mohayim does it, and I was just like, that's the power of the Reverend Mother. You don't understand.
And I was like,
I was all about Rebecca Ferguson's usage
Lady
in-
Jessica.
Lady Jessica in the helicopter.
So yeah, so for the people who don't know,
Pop off.
Benny Jenner.
Yeah.
So in the Dune universe, like they kind of have like a structure of like power of like the Emperor rules over a lot of shares of CHOAM. Everything's pretty much like, imagine Amazon but in space.
Yeah.
Because CHOAM is the one that's like, we're the ones that allowed certain goods to be transferred to certain places. And so the Emperor like has a lot of shares of that company. The rest of the high houses like Atreides and the Harkonnens have other shares of that place. But also the Spacing Guild and then also the Bene Gesserit have like those controls. So pretty much you could see like that's like the network of power. And so the Bene Gesserit, just knowing like they do a pretty good job of keeping them a little bit in the shadows. And then, Leto says like, I always trusted you. You gave me a son, even when you walked in the shadows. That they have duplicitous purposes and intentions for everyone. And Dr. Yue says it's like, no disrespect to your mother, but the Bene Gesserit only serve themselves. And it's like, it's
Even having the Harkonnens on the airplane being like, why aren't we just killing him? Because then we'll have to answer to a truthsayer.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, okay, fuck.
And
I don't want that. I don't want that.
No, yeah,
Never mind.
and so yeah, and so
That tells you right there. These
Yeah.
ruthless dudes are like, why don't we just kill him? Well, because then we'll have to deal with the mother. And like, oh, no.
And so that's the thing, like, the book, the audiobook is 12 hours long, and they're making this into a 5-hour movie, part 1, part 2. Just compacting.
I would have watched a 4.5 hour cut of this.
I
Part 1, I mean.
I can.
And I'll get into that in the qualms.
But like we're watching, I'm like, they're throwing every line isn't wasted. Every line means something.
Yes.
And so when
yes.
she's like, I was trained by the Reverend Mother, it's like, yeah, like Lady Jessica's like one of the most powerful Bene Gesserits. And it's like, oh my God, y'all don't even know. And then we get to see that.
And then she
Don't mess with her.
trained a man,
Yeah.
which they're not stoked about.
Yeah,
It's a lightweight.
So far. So far.
Well, in the book or in the movie they said
it's like, you think, it was a generation.
You were told to give us your
only daughters.
yeah.
Because they want to create, like the Bene Gesserit want to create the Kwisatz Haderach, which is the perfect being, who can use the voice. It's a male trained in the Bene Gesserit ways because only Bene Gesserits are women.
Yeah.
But they want a male that they could control.
Right.
And so the fact that she raised her son to not be able to be controlled by Bene Gesserit, they're like, this ultimate being may not be in our control. And we don't like that because the Bene Gesserit are literally assigned to every great house and the emperor and all that stuff. So like in ipso facto, they've actually been controlling the universe. And, and
from the shadows. Essentially.
Yeah, and then like, you know, when she leaves, she's like, we've done everything we can for you on Arrakis. And you know, Paul realizes
paved the way, right?
Yeah, Paul realizes like, oh, all part of the superstition and plans created by the Bene Gesserit. It's like, this is the way.
Oh, when they're all like chanting at
they're
him.
all chanting Lisan Agaib, and it's like, oh my god. And I was there. Yeah, so I loved it. But some favorite parts for me, Gom Jabbar scene is badass. I really liked the training fight with Gurney Halleck and Paul in the beginning. The insane.
Oh, when he's like, I'm just not in the mood today. The
Yeah,
mood.
And well, I mean, in the Dune version, in the Lynch version,
Alan Smithy
version, like he is legit sitting at a table. It's like never sit with your back behind the door. But in this one, he's like actually training. So I'm like, okay, it's a little updated because it's not just like this scene is made for this.
The shields?
Oh yeah, so
the shields in the original are ridiculous.
Are square people. They're square people.
They're just like a layer on top of the
but
it's awesome.
I did like, you know, so like there is a difference in the cast between Josh Brolin and Patrick Stewart for sure.
Mhm.
But like, you know, Patrick Stewart is definitely, he can do the more gentle like, warrior poet thing better than Josh Brolin can. But I like that they inserted those little shots of him carrying the book with poems or him saying
the poetry.
And I was like, oh, that's a really good way to kind of show this character.
The levels of the character. Yeah.
Also, I just loved the mentats and seeing them. It's a word that's not used in the movie, but it's Stephen McKinley. I forget his last name, but it's the people who could flip their eyes and go white.
Yeah.
They're the human computers. They literally can think like a computer. And they don't explain why. I don't know if they'll do in the second part.
Oh,
but
when he did the calculations,
it's like how much did it cost
them?
Yeah, it's like 13 million Solaris. It's like, oh my god. So like that stuff, but like just
he's like including flight and whatever
round trip, yeah. And it's stuff like that where like you know, being a Dune fan, you got to see those things like, oh my god. And you know, comparing to the Lynch version, like so many things in that movie were indoors, and seeing all this stuff happen outdoors is really nice.
Yeah,
like the still suit check, the changing of the fiefdom. All this stuff happened outdoors in Denis' version, and it's like really nice because it's like, wow, they have the technology to make this look realistic. In you know, older films, you go indoors because you could control more. But here, I enjoyed it a lot. More favorite parts, please.
I mean, Duncan Idaho.
All the body taps.
Any time he's pretty much on screen, I was like, yes.
And how he goes down is pretty badass.
When he's teaching everyone about the different things like the digging tool and the thumpers and stuff like that, and just
you've gone native.
Yeah, just how I thought Jason Momoa was perfect casting for this character, right? He's charismatic.
He was the most like, everyone was like, I think he's gonna be the worst. Because everyone thought he was just like, oh, they got the guy who's really famous and popular right now. But like he shined. He shined.
He
so
shined
well.
as
It's cool to see him in something.
Yeah.
Different than Aquaman for so long.
I also have such a soft spot. I know he was barely in it, but I have such a soft spot for Dave Bautista. Oh. And I've said this off mic a lot. I don't know if I've said it on here. Like, shout out to, you know, Hulk Hogan and The Rock for like, and Andre the Giant for like cracking the door open, and
John Cena, yeah.
And for these wrestlers to become actors in movies. But when you talk about someone who's pushing their range coming from a wrestling world, like Batista does not shy away from trying anything and really pushing his, I mean, he started with like Blade Runner was the first time I was like, oh
yeah.
Oh, he's not just like a wrestler actor.
No.
Like I know
he's a big man with tiny glasses.
Steve's, I'm so sorry. I love The Rock. I love his energy, but he's The Rock. I've never seen him play anything like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you always know you're watching The Rock. You're not watching Dr. Stone.
Right. So like, right. So like, it's nice I really love him for doing stuff like this. And I love Denis for taking him in again as in his next film, because he was a highlight of 2049.
Yeah. Massive, like props to just Batista also being like, he didn't want to be in the Suicide Squad. And he didn't want to be in the next Fast and Furious. He's like, I want to challenge myself. And I'm like, that's huge.
Yeah.
And someone who knows, like, and the thing is, like, I really like that he's aware that his range isn't as wide as he wants it to be. So he's constantly crafting and fine tuning his craft.
Taking classes and you know, I know he said that when he got the role for Drax, he immediately signed up for acting classes like that night and has been doing them since.
And he's super loyal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought he was wonderful in this as the Baron's nephew. So anytime the two of them were on screen,
The
I was
Beast Rabban. And David Smolchin as Panta.
I also loved the voice effect they had on the
On Baron.
No,
Oh.
well, on the Baron, yes, but on the super aggressive like jumper warriors.
Oh, the Sardaukar?
Yeah.
The Sardaukar.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The voice effect they had on them also was pretty fast.
and then also
So
just seeing the
rich
guy
and,
go, doing all the chanting. I was like,
the throat chanting.
I was so
Yeah.
all about like this.
They take their death seriously.
I'm so about
I mean, I mean, to comment on that, like they're making plans of like, oh, we're gonna have 3 legions of this, and everybody's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well,
And,
also
like,
everyone's
even-
like, why have
even
that
Idaho
many?
was like, when you face somebody
3
like
battalions.
that,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what you're fighting.
I also did like how that lent to knowing that the Atreides like army is formidable, because they're like, isn't that a bit of overkill how many people we have? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
These guys
Well,
fight.
Gurney Halleck is the war master, and then Duncan Idaho is the weapon master, and they're the most the strongest warriors in the entire Imperia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just meant when the Baron's like Polka Dot Man was talking to them, and they were like, isn't that too many? And they're like, no, they're really good fighters, and we need to just kind of overwhelm them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they don't stand a chance. And it really tells you why, when Oscar Isaac's talking about how we've mastered air and we've mastered sea, now we want sand power, desert power. You get the hints of how anyone can kind of say that they're a powerful force, but to have the Baron's right-hand man collecting what everyone thinks is overkill, in reality isn't, is pretty impressive.
And Piter, so Thufi Hawat, who is the guy who does the calculations, like every Duke or Baron has to have their mentat, and so that's what Piter is to the
when
Baron.
he tries to resign,
and
Oscar Isaac's like, now you would resign, you would rob us of your gifts,
of your talents, yeah. And it's like, if you would care about your pride, go find me some spies. I'm like, but like
another hint that Oscar Isaac's just a good ass dude. Everyone makes mistakes, my man.
Oh, yeah.
Go fix it.
But like, I loved also the scene with the Hunter Seeker.
I'm like sitting here going, I want to talk about the Hunter Seeker.
So
Talk about it.
Okay, I'll say one thing. You could say the rest. The Hunter Seeker looks like a mosquito, and that means a lot to me because mosquitoes love me, and I hate it. So I was just
Tom's like, I'm Paul.
to me, I'm like, I hate these things. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like up to this point of the movie, you're feeling that rumble, like this like suspense rumble of you're like, something's happening. But that scene was the first time I was like, oh shit, strange things are afoot at Dune. Things are
God damn
not
it.
Okay.
God damn it.
Things are not okay in the city of Arrakeen.
Yeah, things are not as they seem. And I was like, because I was just kind of like, oh, it's a stressful circumstance. We're taking over a planet. There's a lot of like,
I mean,
there's some profit that can be had.
They got
and,
sabotage.
yeah,
and
things
like,
are happening.
Yeah.
And then that you were like, oh, okay, this isn't a smooth transition. Got it. People don't like them. Got it.
Tom,
Yes.
being the bookman you are, the fact that he caught it with his hands is a big deal.
very. I mean, well, so that's like his.
Is it like Harry Potter and the Seeker?
No, it's like Neo and a bullet.
Gotcha.
It's like way more. It's like, oh shit. Because the thing is, and that's the
Because they comment on these, like the warriors of old.
yeah. Well, that's the thing where like Paul, again, he inherits too much. Like he literally is a son of a Bene Gesserit, which never happens. He is a trained mentat from his father, who's a duke. So he's a prince who's taking Arrakis, and he's also the like conspired prophetic like
The one.
the one, and it's just like you're also a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, it's a lot.
Have fun with that.
But like that was the thing where it's like the Bene Gesserit have worked in these ways to try to create the perfect being. But that's to your point of the Hunter Seeker scene. Like I liked that in the book. It's kind of benign. Like there's a lot of tension in Paul's inner monologue that happens like in anime. But then how they showed it in the film, they just made it very interesting. Like having him look at the photographs and stuff like that, and then they have like Denis Villeneuve loves putting people in lights and
Yes.
holograms, and so see him
I
walk
love the
through
idea of
Hide-
that, like,
hide
where
in the
he's
light.
getting his information.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the like
The hollow books.
Yeah.
the hollow books. I was like, that is dope.
And also to me, I was kind of like, there's a lot of just like understanding of the world, and they did it through Paul's eyes of like you're learning what the Fremen suits are, the still suits, and the sand walking, which is just cool dancing, and then like what the Shai-Hulud, the worms are, all this stuff, and you're seeing it all happen. You're seeing like a little mouse, which is important as we saw.
Is there one Shai-Hulud, or they call all of them that, like
They
essentially
call-
like the deity.
They're called the Maker.
Got it.
Yeah. So there's many, and
Because I know at one point Zendaya says from Shai-Hulud himself,
Mhm.
but that's just like if you were like to take, this is lightning from Zeus himself. You're like, yeah, all lightning is Zeus. All worms are Shai-Hulud.
This isn't.
Is that right?
Yes, this isn't really a spoiler, but the Fremen do play a little bit analog of what happens with religious fanaticism.
Okay.
So
I did like the worm riding getting shown. Yeah.
When that happened, I heard Tom go, "Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, because one of the things I remember from the 1984 version is the sandworm. Right?
well." Actually, this happened when what is the doctor? Liet?
Leah Kynes.
Leah Kynes. She pulls out her hooks,
Oh,
and
so
I
badass.
hear Tom 2 seats down. Oh,
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know it's gonna happen, but I
But
was
it
like,
didn't work out.
But the thing in the book, like Leah Kynes has a very unceremonious death, and so like there's like Leah Kynes disappears in the desert, and the Sarkar gets him.
and like that's it. And also,
Uh.
Leah Kynes is a dude in the book.
I liked the.
Oh, the Thumper. Oh, and also, I serve one god. And
Yeah.
his name is Shai-Hulud. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Way
That moment there. Badass.
Badass.
I mean, for me, honorable mention to the sand mice. I just think that they
And
are the
then with
cutest
the
little
water?
things.
Yeah.
Oh, my
I mean, I was like,
goodness.
there's my favorite character.
I did like when she got stabbed that the water comes out from the suit. A little
Oh,
detail,
yeah.
but you hear it too, and you see just a
Um,
little bit of water coming out. You're like, oh, the moisture. The moisture.
My last favorite scene that I wrote down was the knife fight between Paul and
Chami.
Chami.
Chami, yeah.
Chami. It was
Seamus, sorry.
Seamus. It was really cool to see
some with a
because
J because I was watching with subtitles to make sure I got everything.
yeah, it was just cool to see because I love when characters are underestimated. And Paul, we've seen through the movie that he's not to be messed with. I mean,
No.
he's good at fighting. He's been trained
He
by the best.
literally learned from the two best
Yeah, and it
in the
was
galaxy.
cool to see where you can tell their best fighter.
He's got two Obi-Wans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got two of them.
He's-
Well, it's like he had
powerful.
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was cool to see this happening. And what I loved about the scene is that you have this guy from the Fremen who's their best warrior, and he's going into it like, I'm gonna win. And it's cool to see his reactions through the fight of like, I'm losing. What the hell is with this kid? Like,
Is he toying with him? I loved that Javier line. Is he playing with him?
And
She's
then
like,
when-
no, he's never killed anyone before.
Which is important for that scene because, again, like you're splitting the book into two movies. And so, how to make a 3-act structure out of this is kind of like an interesting puzzle. So, to make it where like Paul becomes a man at the end with this fight and like how he has to kill because in the book, the first time he kills someone is in the plane, in the ornithopter. He kills someone. He kills one of the
Spice
Harkonnen-
Miners?
one of the
Oh.
Harkonnens.
Got it.
Because he uses the voice and kills one of them. And so like it would make it very unceremonious of like he just kills another person at the end of the movie.
Yep.
But like this is like, oh, so she kills everyone, show how badass she is. And then here they make it so that this important battle, like he saw his death, he saw the dagger be given to him, but also he saw Jameis being his friend.
Yeah,
And so it's like he's seeing all the paths aligned in front of him.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked all the different languages used for secret conversations.
Oh yeah.
Like
So
this, their own sign language plus
it's
speaking like
it's called their battle language.
Is it?
Yeah.
I like that.
battle
Like, and then the doctor and Paul having their own
Mandarin.
conversation in Mandarin. Like, and you know, and Paul, I wish I could have heard him speak more languages because he mentions how he learned their language, but he never uses it once they're on the planet. But I like that bit of like, yeah, these are all useful tools. They're not. I don't want to just learn a language to learn a language. Like, I need to learn this language because then I can talk to this person when I need to, even in front of his mom, and she has no idea what's happening. He's just like, you know, be on your guard when you go in there. And they work only for themselves. Those little things like that, or when she's signaling that, you know, one of them on the plane is deaf, so the voice isn't necessarily going to work how we want. We can't just tell them all to stop. Like, we have to figure out a way to do this creatively. So then she says, you know, you're not ready, and then him having the guard remove her mouth cloth so that she could. Yeah, I just love that kind of stuff. The little
the gag,
spy
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
we'll round it out so we don't get too long in the teeth.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, like I guess I just really love watching this movie and seeing like the book stuff that I read. I'm like, oh man, it's coming to life, and seeing where all these characters are and how they interact with each other, and that's like the fun of like, oh, this character's really important. Oh, that character's really important. Oh, that character's gonna go. And then also like Baron Harkonnen, like he's not some weird bumbly.
Is it Harkonnen or Harkonnen?
Same.
Okay.
Like not this weird bumbly dude. He's like this creepy man who's got this like he flowy and all that stuff, but also like
I said you could join her.
Yeah, Skarsgård is he kills it. I think
His
he
voice,
so,
he just has the
join
most
her.
yeah.
I was
He has
like,
the
oh
most
no.
commanding voice.
I knew it. I knew it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all about the intricacy of language too. Like I said, you could join her, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Well,
Well, because at
Son of a
first when he
bitch.
said you said you would release her from her agony, I thought he was gonna be like, I already have. She's dead. But when he said, I said you could join her, I was like, oh no, it's even worse than that.
And Dr. Yue
she was already dead.
and
but-
Dr. Yue definitely knew. So
Yeah.
like, that's the thing where it's like he's got him by the ball. So
Oh, I had real quick, just a further note on the shields, like
the weapons they come up with to get through the shields, like the slow moving bullets and
but
stuff.
the slow sword thing, like the amount of training that it would take to fight fast, but then your actual killing blow is slow
Mhm.
to get through the shield is just like, because if you're watching the fight scenes, you're like, you see it, you're like, oh shit, they're slowing down just a bit.
yeah,
Just a-
and Gurney does that all in that first scene.
when
It's like,
Idaho blocks the
Oh, the-
slow bullet.
yeah,
Oh.
that got Duke Leto. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, oh man. But let's go favorite characters.
Favorite characters.
We'll do 3.
oh,
What do you want to do?
3?
You wanna do
Okay.
2?
okay.
Did you have 2 or 3 ready?
I had 2 ready, but on the spot I can come up with another.
Okay.
Tom?
I'll go first. Lady Jessica, my number 1.
Mhm.
Number 2, Paul. Number 3, I would say, I mean, yeah, for sure, Duncan Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan Idaho for sure. He's really fun and it's very nice. Like when he shows back up and he's like, my Duke. I was like, oh yes. But then also
No
like,
longer my boy.
yeah. But then like when he comes back and he's fronting the Starguard and he's whooping all of them, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, he died. And then he comes back like, oh yes. It's so good. It's so good. You know what I'm saying? It's so good.
Yeah,
You
it's so
do?
good. I'll go because I have mine ready. Paul, number 1.
Mhm.
I just I enjoy watching his journey through this and the amount of he has to grow so much in different circumstances, going from the basic. I don't want to say boy, but going from the boy who's getting into a man. His dad's like, "Hey, this is going to be yours someday," and he's embracing that, and then having to embrace almost an entirely different reality where it's like they went in onto this planet for one thing, and now their lives are changed, which it almost makes you like when you're watching it again and you're watching some of the nods and you're like, oh, you poor guys. You don't even know what putting that seal is doing to you right now. And you're like, oh,
When Paul says goodnight, Dr. Yue, and Yue stops for 10 seconds, you're like, oh my God, he knows.
my next one is Dr. Leah Kynes.
Okay.
I just dug her. She was a badass.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to say Stilgar.
Okay.
He just seems like such a badass, and it's more so like an anticipation, like, because I'm like, there's gonna be more in there. There's gonna be more, and I love Javier. Like
Yeah.
he's just a fascinating actor to watch.
He's
and-
effortlessly cool.
Yeah,
Javier
Yeah.
Bardem. Even in No Country for Old Men, we're supposed to be like really scary. That whole friendo scene, I'm like, he's so fucking cool though.
That's
he's
honorable.
so cool.
That's
He's
honorable.
Oh, he's so cool.
Honor requests me to leave. I gotta go. It's like,
Chris
damn.
Pratt, he's so cool.
It's
so cool.
This movie is just amazing with the talking about the ensemble at the
Yeah.
beginning of just like this
It's
one is
stacked.
legitimately a hard decision to make just 2 favorites because it's like, wow, what a good cast.
Lady
Corey?
Jessica,
Mhm.
straight out the gates.
Mhm.
Could watch her for 4.5 hours.
Rebecca Ferguson could do no wrong.
Rebecca Ferguson is
She's based for days. She's
Is-
based generate.
she's
the Baney Jezebel.
she is the goat in this movie for sure. Her range is just fantastic, and her moments of like true fear, but also staying strong, and her fear is
the
is
litany of fear.
yeah. Her whole dialogue about fear is really wonderful. Duncan Idaho is a immediate second. Again, could have watched a whole movie about him too. And then Josh Brolin.
Gurney Halleck.
Gurney.
Yeah.
Gurney, man. Not only because of his his take on his weapon training was great. Like you don't get to be in the mood for battle. And then later on, he gets woken up in the middle of the night to have to battle. It's like his words ring true immediately. You don't always get to be in the mood. And what does he do? Fucking kicks into action. And he's like, everyone with me, and is leading everybody. And, yeah. And he's so loyal to the Duke as well. Like he's ready to when Silgar doesn't address him as Duke, and
you call him Duke, or you call him Sir or Sire. Or something.
Yeah, and then Oscar's like, chill. But
Chill,
his poetry in the middle of all of these things. I love a character, chill, a white dude, with a beard. Love a character who can mix this. I mean, it's a beautiful juxtaposition, right? You're in this desert, war-torn desert, and yet you're reciting some of the most beautiful poetry I've ever heard. And he has him on lock for the situation he's in. Gotta love that. So those are my
like
three.
that moment when he says Goonies never say die.
Yeah. When he's in the battle scene and he's like, I'm not wearing hockey pants. Anyway.
I couldn't even do it. I couldn't do it with a straight face.
You had to do it.
I had to.
So now qualms.
Qualms.
Who wants to go first?
Not me.
I'll go first.
Because I'm the grump. That's why.
I'll go first.
In the votings.
I'll say so
curious if you have a specific one.
Well, so when I'm watching this movie and seeing Chani's narration going on for what's happening is really nice because you get to see like what we're kind of dealing with. We're in another world, another time. We're seeing like the relationships and like this story of the Fremen and the Harkonnens and this kind of like foreboding thing of like, and we're just waiting for our next oppressors, Dune. And then it's like, oh, okay. So this is like this is the preamble, the foreword right before we get into the thing. Part of me wishes it was another character, a character that's not introduced yet. And it would be a little weird, I guess.
Is this a book-related qualm?
It's kind of book-related because like Chani is very important. And from what I've heard that the second one's going to revolve more around her in this one, I'm like, sure. And especially the fact that like the film is called Dune. It's based off the planet. So like it's a namesake and all that stuff. But there are characters a little bit, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to make it like a spoiler, but kind of like how Jeff Nimoy said, like how his Digimon movie, he wanted Ty to narrate the whole thing because he was throughout the entire thing. And then he wasn't, so they had to put Kari in it, even though she's not the main character throughout the whole thing. So for me, there is someone that I think they could have put in and end there. If they ended it there, I think I would have been like, hands down, no one could touch it. No one can touch it.
End it where?
It's in a book.
Oh.
It's in the book. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read the book, but it's when more things happen. It's further on than where we ended off in this film. I think where he ended off this film is fine. I think there's a place where he could have ended would have been like, bum, 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 bum. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm ready for
Because this
shit.
doesn't really have an ending.
Kind of. I mean, like it ends into like this is just the beginning.
Sure.
And not.
I'm only curious about this because your biggest qualm with Fellowship of the Rings was exactly this.
Yeah. And so it's like, but I would say.
But you're giving this one a pass.
No. I would say
Okay.
to the point, I think Fellowship has a better ending than this.
Okay.
Because they both kind of end up well, this is just the beginning.
I wish we could do like a back in time thing.
We didn't film that one.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a big qualm of Tom's with Fellowship. He's like, there's no real ending.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you're going to have that same one here. And it sounds like you
it's
do.
the same one. It's the same one. And I think it's more egregious here than it is with Lord of the Rings. Especially the fact, I mean, there's going to be a reason I think they're going to play out. But anyways, second qualm. This is a dumb one. Why did Duncan have a beard when we first saw him and then no beard later?
Because time had passed.
But you would think the beard would have grown. You think
Maybe he
why would he
wanted to
shave?
shave.
Maybe out on the desert, beards aren't as great.
And this is also a chance for me to. And Duke Leto needs to learn something. This is a chance for me. A chance for me to kind of like show off a little bit of Dune knowledge. They don't do a lot of like writing of how people look at all. There's no writing about like anyone's skin tones or anything like that. Maybe like the Baron Harkonnen being like this gluttonous monster, but like never of like how people really look other than blue within blue eyes. Or like their skin's wrinkled by time and sand. But like having Gurney Halleck have like the Jason Momoa beard that we all know and love at the beginning. I'm
Duncan,
like,
Idaho?
Yeah. And it's like, okay. And then also having clean shaven later on. I think it, to me, would have been more understandable, like him being clean shaven at first and then seeing him later bearded up. It's like, because it's been 4 weeks and he's had to survive in the desert. And everyone else who has a beard is totally fine.
He came back from the desert and was like, I need to shave.
I guess it was just a very like, why?
Yeah.
To me, other than like, oh, I had to shave it for a movie. I'm like, sure,
Yeah.
totally fine. If you shave it for me, that's fine. But it's like here, I was like, but that doesn't make any sense.
Mole on the neck.
It's a very like in this whole
It's his
world.
beard.
Yeah. It's the beard on the face.
Yeah,
on the face.
But those are like my main two ones of like, I don't know about that. You too?
Joshua?
Yeah, I only have one, and I'm going to do my
Okay.
very best to describe it or to put it into words. I usually when we do these kinds of movies, I try to stay off the internet and see any sort of reviews or anything like that. The one that I know that this has gotten a little bit like flack is that it's long and slogging along. Didn't bother me because like going into it, I was like, there's a lot to cover here, and you're doing a cut down version, so to speak, even though it's a 2.5 hour movie. You're like, you're still cutting it down. What I didn't like is I felt like you got all of that, and I still walked away like I got half of a movie, because technically, as we've already mentioned, part 2 hasn't even been announced. And so
At the
there's
time of this recording.
at the time of this recording, which is the Sunday after its release, where you're like, the balls on the filmmakers to be like, we're going to do this thing and we're going to commit, which bravo, but not knowing it's probably going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's probably
it's already made money back. So
but not knowing that for sure. I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way, but that's my qualm.
Yeah. And
sure.
for me, I've had that similar feeling because you have Pirates of the Caribbean, you've had Lord of the Rings, you've had some films that are shot back to back. So why not this one?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can think about and say, and this is like the babiest of spoilers for the book, is that there is a time jump. And so to me, I'm like, if they get a
But
little,
not at this point.
they could.
I see.
And so that's the thing where it's like they probably could have shot some stuff from 2 and been like, cool, we can wait. And then because
I mean, to be fair to this movie, it's not a qualm that ruins my experience of it at all.
oh yeah,
Or my enjoyment of
Well,
it. It's just
to-
one of those things that, because to be perfectly honest, if I'm super, super honest, I watched it a second time just to try to see.
Well,
Because I walked away from the first showing going, that was really good. I don't have anything. And then I watched it again. I was like, I still don't have the only inkling.
Yeah.
This is my inkling. Like, I kind of have a
well,
qualm,
I
but
mean,
not-
it's more in the sense of like, I better get the end of this saga
Yeah.
right now, because it's kind of like even with BVS, there's like, okay, I already know that Zack Snyder's going to shoot Justice League right after BVS. So you're like, oh, the year after BVS, Justice League was going to come out. So you're like, oh, okay, so 2022, Dune Part 2.
We don't know.
We don't know. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
bro,
No, bro.
bro, hold on,
Bro.
Corey.
Yeah. I mean, I have one. I'll gloss past one of my two is that the place they ended it seemed. I needed like a little more, just another like a little more of a. I don't mind that there's. I understand this is part 1, part 2, like Lord of the Rings. Like I get it, but like you said, the place they ended it was just a little like. I don't want to use the word cliffhanger, but I'm going to because I can't think of anything else. There wasn't as much of a cliffhanger as I wanted it to be. Like I either needed a shot of them going into the siege, maybe would have left me a little more like, oh shit. But where it ended, definitely, I felt like it ended in the middle of a scene almost. And so that was it. That was my one little one. Again, I don't have an issue with not finishing the story because part 1 and part 2. But my other qualm was that I think my issue is that I want the 4.5 hour cut because I either needed things to happen quicker and more of it, or give me the 4 hour cut where I do get to breathe like this wants to breathe.
Well, apparently, and this is the one thing I read online that
Because I know that they said that Jason Momoa saw like a 4.5 hour cut and was like, it's fucking, everyone should see this.
Well, apparently there was a scene between Dr. Yue and Lady Jessica, and he was like, and Dr. Yue is like telling Lady Jessica about his wife
Mm-hmm.
and how he wants to get her back, but he can't get her because the Baron
Stuff like that.
And I was just like, apparently there's a scene that he's like crying, and I was like,
So that's what I mean. Like I either needed
release the Villeneuve cut.
I either needed it to be like quicker so that I could get to another one of those bigger moment cliffhangers. Because the fight, I feel like I needed one more scene after this fight scene, knife scene for Paul to really experience that he had killed a man, or his mom to acknowledge it, or something to happen after this. But it just kind of like, anyway, we're gonna go, and then it ends. And I was like, I need to see more of this, which great. but I think I needed the.
I'm going to
the
say
Denny
I'm
cut.
going to say this.
The Denny cut.
After the rating, I want to talk a little bit where I think it should have ended, and we could do. A
Okay,
little
yeah,
bit of
for
that.
sure,
And-
for sure.
And you've seen the Lynch version,
But like,
Yeah, long
okay.
time ago.
So okay, it was not gonna be a
I-
spoiler for anybody.
So those are my big qualms, and I do think this could have. I think 2.5 hours is not long enough for a movie like this.
I mean, this is the funny thing, right? So
like you telling me that scene got cut, like having that come to fruition,
Yeah.
and seeing it's
And-
him in
and-
that moment, being like, oh,
well, like, and so like everyone's like, oh, he has something on the line, right? Like, but like also a lot of people were really happy that Chang Chen like was one of the first major actors in a huge thing that didn't get whitewashed, right?
right.
That could have been a big thing, like, oh, Dr. Yue, of course we're gonna make them like not Asian because we don't want to be racist. Like, no, just fucking make the character look good.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't have to worry about that stuff.
And it would have made me feel more torn about when he betrayed them, because when he did, I was like,
Now he's just
Fuck,
a doctor
man.
that betrayed them.
Yeah.
Right
I
now.
get that he has a wife, but they kind of throw it in there,
Yeah, and-
exposition-y, and I was like, if they had that scene in there, and all he would have had to say is, "I'm sorry, you know, I need to save my wife," and that could have been it. It would have been a little less like the Baron in the middle of this. My Baron has my wife. Anyway, I'm putting a tooth in. Like,
Like, and
let it. This movie wants to breathe. Let it breathe.
we'll talk about it after the rating.
Okay.
So now rating,
Rating.
now numbers. So Josh is first.
Apparently I'm
Josh is first.
Josh is first. Is it written down or not?
It is written down, but it's just like I hate writing down the score because we talk and I'm like, oh,
Maybe it's different.
yeah. No, it's a 4.9.
4.9 for
Were you
Josh.
thinking of lower or higher? Just you don't
It
have to
was
say.
going to be lower.
Okay, 4.9.
Then,
4.9. It's practically perfect. I make it. I would have loved to have been the movie as it stands right now. It's 4.9.
mine
Mhm.
is lower. Mine's a 4.8. And I think it's because I don't know if I could have directed it better. I think I might have been able to write off one last polish. And I think I could have ended it where I think it would have been better. I think it would have been really a better cliffhanger. And I think it would have tied things up to be like, the film needs to have, to me, a little bit more intrigue. So people just want to dive so deep into it. And then they want to just read the books before even the next movie comes out.
I want that.
And then also, there are certain things in there that drive a lot of tension. And I think Denis Villeneuve was against the wall of, I have to make Paul and Jessica the most likable characters I could possibly make them, and show you their struggle and show you what they've been through, so that when they come out on the other side, it's very earned that they are like the heroes of this story.
Yeah.
Where the Dune saga isn't really about the traditional hero story. So it's really cool.
I'm not very interested in Paul. I'll be honest.
We'll talk about it after.
They just call day though, all day.
Your number, Corey.
4.6.
I was the right. Corey, your Josh was right,
Everyone was right.
Everyone was right.
Everyone was right. I loved this movie. You know, to quote some other things I've watched, to quote some other people at the table here. I hope there's a second one, because I don't think I would go back and watch this if I can't finish the story.
Yeah. I'll tell you this right now.
It's not something I would like add to my collection. Like, you got to see Dune Part 1. Is there Part 2? No, but you got to check this out.
But this one,
Where like to your yeah, like it's just yeah. I think everything will be paid off in Part 2, but as it stands right now, I'm kind of just like, I don't care about the hero all that much, and I really care about his mom.
I'll say it this way. Yeah,
and there is that. I did see you talk about this a little bit, and it was in the back of my mind watching it, and I haven't read what you've posted yet. And we can either talk about this off screen or on the episode. But I was that whole time being like, this white kid is going to come in and save all the natives? That seems dated. But maybe I'm wrong, because I haven't read the books and I don't know what's going to happen. But as it stands right now, that was also in the back of my head.
I'll definitely talk about white savior shit.
Okay.
After our numbers, who do we shout out? Who got it all right? Who is the
most of the Nerd on Nation got it right?
you're right.
So each of you only had one vote. I just want to throw that out there.
Hey,
I
we
have
out,
the
we
rest.
out here living.
Dana P, Mitchell G. Who else we got here? Justin got it right. Matt R got it right, and Joel got it right. Shout out. You guys are the Guess That Grumper Gom Jabbar,
Gola, God Emperor.
Yeah. What's Josh Brolin's character's name?
Gurney Halleck.
Gurney Halleck, Gesser, Grumper. That's it.
Jesuit. Okay, so
It's me.
so now we can go.
point two.
I mean, to just say one thing before we get real heavy, I'm a tourist in this world, and it's like for me looking at this, I feel like this is like it's what it deserves. Like Dune, being a tourist, I know that it's important to the sci-fi world, to writing, to storytelling. It's important, and it has 6 books. And now we're in a place in filmmaking, technology, talent that it's like it can shine. And having something like this happen where it's just like having a 4.5 hour cut or whatever, it's like, hell yeah.
I honestly think that would make me give it like a 5 probably.
And I'm going to say it like this. There's going to be people in the audience
exists,
and there's
y'all.
people out on the internet that just absolutely hate long movies. And I don't know how to talk to you. You're like a terrorist and I don't know how to like.
Wow.
There's nothing wrong with you if you don't like long movies, guys.
Well, the absolute abhorring of long movies. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I can like a short movie too. I don't have to have everything long, but some stories need to be big and epic and grand.
Yeah.
That being said, like, I would love to watch a 4 or 5 hour version.
I think this at least needs 3.5 hours. I needed like another hour of
scenes
like that.
Everyone listening, if you have not read the book, if you have not watched the original one, this will be a spoiler.
So turn it off now.
Yeah.
Give you a sec.
I mean, there's a spoiler warning at the beginning of this
But
episode.
there's no spoiler
so-
for the book.
Yeah,
This is
that's
a
true.
book spoiler.
So
That's true.
go ahead and just rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and then bye-bye. But now, I would have ended it. So I would have had the narration be Alia. And so Alia is the child that Lady Jessica's pregnant with.
Oh, okay.
And so she becomes a Reverend Mother by transforming the spice water into life water and then going under the spice agni, and she becomes a Reverend Mother. So like now she can unlock the memories of everyone who
She
ever
master evolves. Like she just like
Kind of,
becomes.
yeah.
She digivolves.
So the prescience allows you to and going under the spice agni. Again, a male's never done it, but women who are Bene Gesserit can, and that's how you become a Reverend Mother. They can literally see into the past of them of their genetic coding. So like you could see your so a woman
So
typically
is that why it's important that they kind of draw focus that he has some sort of reaction
to the spice.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he's awakening. And that's why the line "Father, the sleeper has awakened." But I would have had it where Alia is the narrator because when Jessica goes under the spice agony, her prescience is awakened, and so does her unborn child. And so her unborn child, before they're even born to this world, have literally the collective memories of everyone in their genetic line.
Wow.
And so it's like,
Damn.
and the Bene Gesserit call that an abomination. But then, like, to me, like, you have this narration. You could have a very similar narration, like the Harkonnens and Shaddam and blah, blah. And then it's like at the very end, it's like, and then what the planet of Arrakis and the universe would never understand is me. And then it ends with like Alia
Birth.
being born. Like you could have it where like Paul is learning how to ride on a worm, and then he's like, I am now Muad'Dib, and I'm like, I'm going to take over, Arrakis, and I'm going to lead everyone towards this, like, blah, blah. And then, like, at the same time, you cross-cut it with Lady Jessica giving birth to Alia, and then, like, Alia's, like, eyes are blue open, and it's, like, a fully cognizant person at an infant age.
Mhm.
And it would be like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And you would have been like, oh, and then it's cut to black, and you're like, oh, my God.
Give me part two now.
Because then this is all the parts of, like, Paul grows up, he gets married, he has a kid, and like he has to lead this fight against the Harkonnens and the Emperor. But like that takes over the course of like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And then Alia is like a walking around child at this point. Like
She's just a baby.
like she's 4 years old and she's like an assassin.
Dope.
So like all of that could be done in the second movie, but like this movie, I think it would have been really good to end it on those two things of like Paul riding a worm and then Alia being born. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? This just went 0 to 100, but it probably would have been like another hour to do that.
Give it another hour.
So to me, I think it would have been cool to end it there. There's things like in the book. So Liet Kynes is a man in the book, and that's the parent of Chani. And so it's really Zendaya's character. So it's like there's connection there. So it's like, so when they first arrive to Arrakis, they know that there's a traitor amongst them. And so there's this whole subplot that Thufir Hawat, who is like the Mentat, the human computer, who's like, oh, I think Lady Jessica is potentially like the traitor. And then because they get like this message from the Harkonnens, like someone you love who's incapable of hurting you is going to kill you. and they're like, oh, it has to be Jessica. And then Leto was like, it can never be her, but I think I need her to think that I suspect her. So there's like again another level of the chess,
4D
right?
chess.
Wow. And then Thufir Howard and Lady Jessica have this moment where he's like, I don't trust you. And then she uses the voice. She's like, you small-minded man. You don't understand the power of the Bene Gesserit ways and what we could do to you. If I wanted to kill Duke Leto, I would have done it years ago. And it's like, and then he fucking freaks out. She's like, now you know a taste of our power.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I got it. Before we go too long here, I do want to talk about the you said you're going to mention the white savior stuff. And is that actually
So a lot of people, I think, kind of point to that as white savior stuff. So, and I think the thing you're talking about, I posted on Facebook. You're not watching Luke Skywalker save people. You're watching Anakin Skywalker fall into darkness. And so the entire story of Paul Atreides. So the first book, you show off like, oh, he's like inheriting all these things, but like the kind of sad turmoil that happens is that by the time that's why like there's such a bad thing of like he became the Kwisatz Haderach too early, and it should have been the next generation between a Harkonnen and a Atreides, and not whatever. When he sees the future, he sees all the timelines, and every timeline shows him rising to power, and that's why he has that freak out moment in the tent. He's like, everyone calling out my name, and billions die because of me. But like he, as this young boy, has no, he doesn't feel like he can do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so he like willfully takes the religious fanaticism of the Fremen and is like, I'm going to take you guys into your deaths. And I'm going to use your power, and we're going to take over, and I'm going to be the emperor. Like knowing that he's doomed everyone.
Right. Okay.
And so like, it's not a white, it's white savior for a bit, I would feel like.
Yeah.
But if you read the book and you know that like he lives with the guilt that he's killed everyone.
Yeah.
And the entirety of the second book is everything but showing how this charismatic leader that everyone's like, he's the one, we're all blindly following him, is the fucking worst thing. And like, that's the whole point of Frank Herbert's storytelling, that he really wanted to show, like, because of, oh, we have Kennedy, why are we in Vietnam? We had such a great leader, why are we in Vietnam? And also Nixon's like, you should never trust your government, ever.
Okay.
And so,
legit,
seeing how that's going to play out.
That's why I said it's in
cool.
the back of my mind, but it wasn't a qualm because it's not a finished story. I don't know where it goes.
There's a lot of articles that if you, it's pretty cool to kind of, and they break it all down.
Dope. I also got to give a shout out to those sand assassins. That, like hiding under the sand and then pop up.
Oh, yeah. The Fremen.
Yeah, but like that exact type of warrior. And just badass.
And then Paul teaches them the weirding way. So he become very powerful.
Spoilers over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. I'm done.
Everybody at home, thank you so much for listening or watching if you're on the YouTubes. If you are on your favorite podcast app, please stop by, subscribe, rate, review, wherever that is. That kind of stuff does help us.
Don't do too much spice. You stop taking the spice, you die.
Yeah, exactly. That's our message today. Also, check out our website, nerdon.tv. It has all of the information, all of the housekeeping we could possibly put out there. You can get it there. You can check out, like we said before, super important mention to the Nerd On Nation. They, as a member, you do get a whole bunch of perks, but at the same time, you get to help us as we keep making content.
Help you.
We love doing this, and we love
doing
to make,
this.
We love doing this.
Put us on the golden path, baby.
And the Nerd On Nation allows us to do it more and to do it better. Plain and simple. So check it out.
Or better.
I have to do one quick shout out.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Everyone, I am a neophyte in the world of Dune. If you want to check out someone who knows way more than I'll ever do, check out Quinn's Ideas, aka Ideas of Fire and Ice. Like, they are the hub. And
I'm actually gonna go watch
you should
that.
check that out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I could understand him. I cannot talk with him.
Right. Got you.
I am a tourist.
Yes, I am a tourist.
But yeah, the most important thing, do share us with your friends and family and rate and review. That kind of stuff, we've said it many times before, but it is seriously how we grow. And one last shout out, get yourself 20% off and free shipping over at manscaped.com with the discount code NERDON. But that's it. That's all the housekeeping. That is the episode. Thank you so much for listening. We heart you all. Take care of yourselves. You know the drill. As always, love you.
Maybe don't yell over the clap.
I mean, it's so hard in the waveform that no matter what, she's gonna see it.
I know, but for editing, because sometimes when I
We
use
don't
it,
need the claps,
when-
but we
when-
don't know if Julie does.
when I use it, I do it actually to the visual of the soundboard hitting, because sometimes the audio's off by
a bit.
a second.
All right, we ready? We got.
Sorry, I'm being particular. I don't question you about your audio job, Josh.
Speaking of,
Actually, I ask questions all the time.
Ending broadcast.